From Bosstrack, it's Her HypeSquad, a show about amazing women who've made incredible strides as leaders in their industry. They're here to support you and your leadership growth, to encourage you and hype you up as part of your Hype Squad. Hello everyone, this is Michelle Harris bringing you another episode of Her Hype Squad with Bosstrack. You may not believe it because I certainly can't, but it is our 1-year anniversary. I can't believe I've had the privilege to talk with so many inspiring women over the last year, and this week is no exception to that. This week I sat down with Nikki Jones, CEO and founder of Changility, about change management, confronting fears, embracing change, and just being awesome. But before we get into our conversation, I'd like to share a little bit about Nikki. Nikki Jones is the CEO and founder of Changility. There, she focuses on the humanity of change management and its effect on people first, and her vision is to change the way the world thinks about change, one human at a time. With this unique approach, she creates a new way of working for her clients and their employees, shifting mindsets on strategy, design, and planning, change and program management, process improvements, and enterprise goal management. Prior to Changility, Nikki was NPR's VP of Change Management and Transformation. In this role, she worked to ensure NPR delivered on its business and cultural aspirations, developed more inclusive decision-making and transparent ways of setting project plans and accountabilities, and built stronger support systems for cross-departmental collaboration. Prior to NPR, she was the Director of Program Management for SiriusXM Radio, where she coached product teams responsible for digital campaign execution on SiriusXM.com and content management, sales flows, and marketing promotion optimization. As Senior Technical Program Manager with National Geographic Digital Media, she launched the official online experience for the U2 3D film for Nat Geo's Cinema Ventures Entertainment Division and led cross-functional teams for all online programs with Nat Geo and Nat Geo Magazine. As a consultant with Secured Sciences Group, she re-engineered the IT governance process for the United States Marine Corps' Manpower Information Systems Division. Nikki earned her BS in Social Science, Political Science from Coppin State University and her Master of Science in Information Systems Technologies and Advanced Business Technologies from the George Washington University. She served on the board of the National Association for Multi-Ethnicity in Communications in 2015 and served on the Technology and Innovation Committee for the Emma Bowen Foundation from 2019 to 2023. In 2021, she was a fellow for Public Media Women in Leadership CEO COO Bootcamp, and she currently serves on the Leadership Council for the National Small Business Association. Nikki was introduced to tech at a young age through video games. Her love for technology led her through database administration and front-end development and grew exponentially when she became a project manager. Her passion for servant leadership, program management, and transformation drives her to help minorities confront and embrace the challenges that they'll face in the technology industry. If you enjoy my conversation with Nikki, be sure to subscribe to our channel and help more people find us by sharing this episode with others or by leaving a review. Or subscribe to our weekly newsletter filled with things we found that we're excited about and were inspired by, along with valuable leadership advice to watch, listen to, or read. It's a little bit of joy for your inbox each Monday. You can subscribe at www.thebosstrack.com/weeklyjoy. Now, without further delay, here's my conversation with Nikki Jones. Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us on Her Hype Squad with Bosstrack. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Great. I know it's been a little while, so it's great to see you again. And I'm looking forward to our discussion here about change management and embracing fear. And I always like to get started by having you introduce yourself to the audience so they can hear a little bit directly from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am Nikki Jones. I am the CEO and founder of Changility. Changility stands for change and agility, and we focus on the individual aspect and the humanity behind change. So when we work with our clients and do strategy design, strategic planning, goal management, program and change management, we focus on how it affects the individual, how it affects the team, how changes affect the totality of whatever it is that the company is trying to do.
Yeah, that's so important too. Change is really hard for so many people. having
It really is.
Yeah, and having that roadmap for sure is a help. And I think one of the things most overlooked is that human aspect of change. So it's much needed. Well, so in that regard, I'd love to hear how you define change management and maybe specific examples where you've seen an organization manage through change.
Sure, absolutely. So I define change management in a couple of ways, but the biggest focus is embracing and confronting your fears, right? Because when you hear the word change, um, I don't want to give like a random statistic, but it seems like 9 times out of 10 people are afraid, afraid to change, afraid to step out of their comfort zone. So when I think of change management, I think of embracing and controlling your fears, right? Because fear is a natural human emotion. You're not going to get rid of that.
Mhm.
But when you look at it, when you look at the fear head on, you are able to step out of your comfort zone, right? You learn a whole lot more about yourself when you approach change from a scientific method, from a human aspect, right? So that's how I approach change in my personal life and in my business life, right? So
Yeah.
I I have fears just like everyone else,
Mhm.
but I know how to confront it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we'll get into fear a little bit later too, but I'm always interested in learning more about strategies to move beyond that comfort zone. So I'm excited to talk about that. What are some strategies that you actually use with maybe in your like past corporate career or now with your clients to manage through that change?
Yeah, I mean, like the biggest part is communication,
Mhm.
right? Like being completely transparent and communication on different levels, right? Like, so communicating with the client on what you want to actually do, right?
Mhm.
What is it you're trying to accomplish? What is the end result, right? And then communication to their teams, their staff, like, how is this change going to affect you? First of all, this is what's going to change,
Mhm.
right? And let's talk about what's happening now. Let's talk about the current state. And let's talk about how we can make things better, how we
Mhm.
can transition to the future state that the client wants, right?
Mhm.
So it's constant communication. It's a constant communication cycle and taking in information and, disseminating information out, putting yourself in other people's shoes, being empathetic as you communicate. So,
So I know in my past we've had like roadmaps, and I think just throughout that roadmap is communication, communication, communication. So I'm assuming like you have a similar roadmap as well, working through that change.
yes, you mean like a strategic roadmap or
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
change
Strategic
management?
roadmap. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean like that's one of the biggest things our clients need help with, right? Is
Mhm.
building out a strategy and then executing off of that strategy. And what is that going to look like? Well, it's a lot of change in there, right?
Mhm.
I mean, like when you build your strategy, you want to meet your goals, right? But as you meet your goals, you want to prioritize the work. And a lot of companies don't do that. A lot of companies will just pile on the work thinking, I have to stay busy, right?
Mhm.
Or this brand and all 10 of my brands have to be completely 100% at full capacity. And that's not true, right? Again, the way we approach change at Changility is focusing on the human aspect side of it, right? So
Mhm.
think about your employees that might be overworked, that might be overburdened, or just like burnt out. And building a
Yeah.
strategic plan and executing off of that strategy, you want to look at what you want to change. You are going to have to remove some things, right? You
Yeah.
are going to have to focus on what's most important. What is my return on investment? And what are things that we could put to the side? Because
Yeah.
you should be thinking about the people that are actually doing the work as well as meeting your goals. So that's how, like in building out a roadmap and building out a strategic roadmap, again, it's about focusing on the individual side
Yeah.
of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd mind sharing. Do you have an example in the past where you've worked with a group to manage through change or implement something, and you did have somebody that was resistant to that change, and what that human aspect looks like how to kind of work that person through change?
Yes. Oh, there's so many examples. What do I want to talk about? Okay, we're already talking about strategic planning,
Hmm.
right? So I could just stick with that. There was an instance at a company that I worked for that built their strategic plan in a vacuum,
Hmm.
right? Just in a room with a few executives. And, this is the strategy that we're going to do. These are the projects or the programs that our teams are going to do. Our teams are going to, meet these goals. And that's it. That's all. Right. And it was time for a change. It was time to empower voices throughout the organization, right?
Hmm.
Including the operational and tactical teams that were close to the work, that actually executed on the work. So, in building out this strategic plan, a specific team that I was involved with said, hey, how about we have a ton of people within the organization be a huge part of building out the strategic plan, building out these initiatives, because they know what their capabilities are. They know the skills and the skill sets that are needed and required to meet these goals. And we did that. There were those in leadership that were not a fan,
Hmm.
right? And I approached that by trying to figure out why,
Hmm.
right? Like not just powering forward and steamrolling over these leaders,
Yeah.
right? They had valid reasons as to why they didn't want to make this change. And so I listened, and had conversations and communicated and, put myself in their shoes and said, you know what? Okay, I absolutely understand why you don't want to do this. But let's talk about how it could be better for you, how it could be better for the organization. Let's think about some examples, right? Let's get out of this fixed mindset and figure out how we can grow together, right? I'm not going to say that it was 100% foolproof, you know,
Yeah.
but it did work, you know.
Mhm.
So it was a big deal, and it brought up morale too, because we had people that normally would not be involved in making decisions like that in a strategic plan, and they were, and it was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if you can attest to this, but it's always surprising. You think you go into a situation and it's just going to be very combative and they're going to be resistant. But as soon as you start opening up communication and really talking about what the issues are, like it really does open a dialogue and kind of moves you past where, like you said, it's not always perfect, but I mean, I think a lot of people can go into just having those conversations being fearful of what what's going to come out of that, if anything.
Absolutely, and a lot of times people just want to talk. They just
Hmm.
want their voices heard,
Yeah.
and you're giving people an opportunity to present their case,
Yeah.
right? And just listening. A lot of people just want to be heard,
Yeah.
and giving them that opportunity and then figuring out things together.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so you had mentioned like empathy, and a lot of that is just part of that empathy, active listening, putting yourself in others' shoes. Do you teach that with the people that you work with, how to be more empathetic?
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And, it's, we all strive to be decent human beings.
Hmm.
I believe that. I believe that we do not wake up and choose to not be awesome. And so that makes it easier to, I think I'm lucky that the people that I had on my teams or that are on my team now are naturally empathetic. I mean, like when you get into change management, you're getting into change management for a reason. That's your personality, right?
Hmm.
You want to help.
Yeah.
I don't think people that want to get into change management want to do the antithesis of what that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm lucky that I don't really have to teach people how to be empathetic because this is what they want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So I love that, waking up and choosing to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's one of the, something came up recently, and I can't remember who I was listening to, and they were saying, make sure you end the day and think about two things that went well for you that day. So you go to bed kind of thinking of those positive things and feeling positive about yourself.
Right.
And I love then waking up and just saying, I'm awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm choosing to be great today.
Yeah. Now, as you were coming up in your career, what are some pieces of advice that you heard that were maybe good or not good in terms of change that you used to build your career?
Oh, so much advice. Again, it all falls back to confidence, right? And
Mm-hmm.
embracing your fear and being fresh out of college and having your first job. You're feeling your way.
Mm-hmm.
Should I speak up? Should I speak up? Should I speak out? Should I just
Yes.
do my job? And if I disagree with my manager, should I be quiet? Right.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
had a manager who fostered dialogue and said, hey, you're on my team because I trust you and I trust for you to speak up and I trust for you to speak out. And you should always do that. Right.
Mm,
You can do it in a respectful manner. You can, raise your hand, whatever. So that was a huge piece of advice. Like you learn things in college, especially if you're focused on not just the educational aspect, but the social aspect too. But then when you're in your first working environment, all of that could get thrown out of the window and say, what am I doing? You say, what am
yeah.
I doing? But learning to be confident and vocal, especially on things that you may disagree with,
Yeah.
that was a huge piece of advice. And to this day, I still stand by it.
Yeah. And I love that. I wonder, so one of the things I think is very important is the leader themselves being vocal with their team about speaking up, and it's okay to share ideas, and it's okay to not necessarily be right all the time. You're part of this team for a reason, and we need to hear your voice. For people that don't actually get that person that is telling them that, what would you say to them to?
I would say to power forward,
Yeah.
right? To trust yourself, right? And to
Yeah.
be confident in yourself and do your work, do your job, figure out different ways to communicate. Like everyone has different personality types.
Yeah.
So you want to communicate differently based off of how that person may receive that communication. So I would absolutely tell the person, don't give up.
Mhm.
Continue to wake up to be awesome and be great and figure out different ways to communicate
Mhm.
because it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Nothing is. And you acclimate your communication style to the person that you want to communicate with. You're going to work with introverts. You're going to work with
Mhm.
extroverts. You're going to work with people that share too much, and
Yes.
share too little, right? So you just acclimate your style to that. You figure it out as you go. But
Yeah.
don't give up ever.
Yeah. That's so true. One thing I think is so important is you might communicate with somebody and you're right about something and they don't accept it, and then you go back thinking, oh my God, that person's like just doesn't get it, or is it? But everybody thinks differently and everybody hears things differently and communicates differently. So it might just be a matter of going back in a different way and repackaging what you were saying and trying again. I heard that in what you were saying. I think that's so important.
Absolutely. Strategy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you do when some people, I think, may be resistant to change, but they don't know why they're resistant to change or why they're fearful of something? Like, how do you get that out of people when you're talking to them?
Well, I'd like to start off and say sometimes you can't,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And I accept that. I
Hmm.
accept that there are people with fears that, I mean, I'm not a therapist
Yeah.
or a psychiatrist, and I can't, win all of the time, right?
Yeah.
So I already go into conversations with that mindset. But at the same time, again, it's all about communicating, just talking, and it works more than it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It could be something as simple as I've tried that before and it didn't
Yeah.
work. So I will
Yeah.
never ever try it again.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be everything has to be perfect and I do not accept failure at all.
Mm.
And when you get that out of people, through communication, and you figure out how to approach that, right? It's okay to not be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fail. Let's fail together. Let's fail
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And let's learn from it and make the next iteration better.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? I totally get why it didn't work the first time. You're absolutely right. But how about we try it this way? Let's see. Like, how would it have worked if you were in charge? Like, give them the power,
Oh, that's a good one.
right? And then
Yeah.
say, you know what? Well, I would have done it this way. Well, why not? Let's try it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it works more times than not. But to be completely transparent, not always.
Yeah.
But I mean, like at the same time, I mean, like that's just being human,
Mm-hmm.
right? And figuring things out as you go, right? And just trying to stay positive, which is hard sometimes.
Yeah. Have you ever had a project or something that you were involved with where there was somebody that was so resistant that it did affect the progress of the project or the initiative?
Yes.
How did you work with that?
To be completely transparent, I couldn't.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, again, there are times when there is you try
Yeah.
and you try, and then sometimes it gets to a point where you realize there's literally nothing you can do but sit back and watch the flames,
Mm-hmm.
and that is completely unfortunate. But how I sleep at night is I know that I tried, and I
Mm-hmm.
gave, like, my team and my coworkers, my colleagues gave everything
Yeah.
to make a situation great. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn to accept when you can't,
Yeah.
right? And then so when it fails, and it will, it's all about the recovery,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then I would step in, not be that, I told you so, as much as I'm saying it in my head, right? And my team and I would step in and fix it. Look at the lessons learned and be vocal about opportunities and areas of improvement
Mm-hmm.
and make things better.
Yeah. And something you said a little bit ago was failing forward and continue, and it's okay to fail. I'm assuming you have a lot of resistance to that because I think that has been such a hard thing. And I've noticed recently that people are really talking about embracing that more. So how how do you really overcome that fear of failure with people?
Well, like you said, the good news is a lot of people are more susceptible to embracing failure and failing fast and
Hmm.
testing and prototyping. So that's a positive.
Yeah.
10 years ago, whew, that would have
Yeah.
been a different story. I would give you a different answer. But I think for me, it was always like a way of life being agile,
Mm.
right? Like I wasn't always, well, I was always in a change management. I just didn't know it, right? But I was always agile, right? Starting off as a developer, working my way to technical project manager. I never fell into that whole waterfall approach. It was always about iteration, being iterative and pushing things out quickly.
Hmm.
So that helped a lot, right? My technical background and working with a ton of technical people, we embrace failure,
Yeah.
because we had time to iterate and make it better and to keep making it better. But then working with other people on teams that were not technical, yeah, it would be a challenge because they
Yeah.
would want things perfect,
Hmm.
But again, like you said, as time moved, as we shifted, as the world has shifted, so did mindsets. And more people than not are ready to embrace failure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is because the world is changing so fast and that's really the only way to get to succeed and be successful is to understand that that's just part of moving at a fast pace and getting to where you need to be?
I really do believe that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thinking about fear, can you tell, like, is there a time where you've embraced fear and turned into an opportunity for yourself? Like, just kind of for the audience to know that overcoming fear can become an opportunity for you if you're willing to work through it?
Yeah. I always wanted to be some kind of techie,
Mm.
right? In undergrad, I declared being a comp sci major
Mm.
and absolutely freaked out with the first math class, discrete mathematics. Like, oh no, this is not for me. And I switched my major to political science, social
Wow.
science, and I loved it. Dealing with the human ecology and demography of people, right? Which is what I do today. But I always loved anything technical, right? I had my 486 computer. I'm dating myself. But I had a 486 computer. I had like the first gaming consoles, Atari and Commodore, and grew up playing video games and wanting to understand the insides of it. And when I graduated from undergrad, you know, it, it I worked in the social sciences field.
Mm.
In all of my jobs, my first job and my second job was dealing with people. And then, like I never lost that love of computer science. And I just bought books and taught myself and said, hey, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn in my spare time. And one day I said, I want this to be my career. I want this to be my life. And I was terrified to leave a cushy, comfortable job with a really great title in my late 20s when all of my friends were moving forward like me to go to a job where I'm totally entry level,
Mhm.
right? Like 10 years older than everyone that I'm working with. And then one day I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. And I found a job that took a chance on me. I was terrified,
Mm.
but in embracing my fear again, like I learned more about myself. I was more confident. I was confident that I was going to be the best developer this company would ever have because they took a chance on me.
Mm.
Right. Again, that fear didn't go away. It just made me stronger
Mhm.
to the point where I was good enough to apply for grad school to get my
Wow.
master's in information
Yeah.
systems. Right. Like, so I finally did that whole information systems, computer science thing. I just did it very late.
Mhm.
But again, that was embracing my fear because if I didn't, I would probably be in a job where I'm just like so unhappy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to live like that.
Mhm.
So I had to embrace it in order to be happy.
I appreciate you sharing that because I actually know quite a few people right now that really need to hear those words of wisdom because that's as it really never is too late and you just need to be willing to work through that fear because it's fear and knowing and an unknown I guess as well because you if you're already working in a career and you're somewhat at least somewhat successful you're comfortable knowing that you have that and there's a certain trajectory versus it starting all over. It's like that's like, well, it's so much of an unknown.
Right.
And takes that's definitely takes you out of that comfort zone.
Yes.
So one of the things we really like to promote at Bosstrack is wellness and taking care of yourself before you can take care of others. And I know part of change management is it can be stressful and just change in general can be how I don't know personally, like how do you maintain your mental and emotional well-being while working through change, either personally or professionally?
Yes, absolutely. I cook.
Mm.
That is a huge stress reliever for me. And especially dealing with change in my home life. and work life. We went through change 2 years ago when my husband rescued a pregnant cat and didn't know that she was pregnant. And we took her to the vet and we kept her throughout her pregnancy. And she had 7 kittens. And I had to deal with change of having 7 kittens with 3 senior cats already in my home. That was stressful. But cooking, playing video games, I still play video games and I do it every single day.
Yeah.
That is my form of meditation, waking up in the morning, making coffee and sitting in my living room and playing a video game quietly. And I zone out, right? I deal with it that way. Because just because I'm in change management doesn't mean that I'm not I'm fearful. I'm afraid just like everyone else. I freak out just like everyone else. It's okay to have your freak out moment. That's one piece of advice. You're human.
Yeah.
It's okay to scream. It's okay to cry. It's okay to say, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do this. What's not okay is sitting back and reevaluating whether you can do something or not, right? That's not okay. And that's what I do, right? I'll like quietly think, you know, how is this change going to affect me? Is it going to affect me? Is it going to affect my personal life, my work life? And then I'll figure out how to tackle it.
What style of cooking? What do you like to cook?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. I mean, like I have like all of these cookbooks and it depends. Like it's funny, I am a couch potato and there was a time where I would plan menus on a weekend based off of what I was going to watch on television, right? If I'm going to watch The Sopranos, I want to make all Italian.
Oh, I love it.
Like that sort of thing. And it's a stress reliever because you're picking up a book and you're learning new recipes, you're learning new techniques. So I'm not a fan of baking because that's too scientific. I know, like I just don't have time to measure all of the things. But I just love experimenting in the kitchen and I love watching people eat my food and enjoying it.
Yeah. And is there like a preferred video game? Like, is it like on your computer or do you play like a PlayStation? What's your go-to?
Yeah, I play Xbox.
Xbox. Okay.
I have a PlayStation, but really, I only bought a PlayStation to play Last of Us. That's the only reason why I had that, and I played that, and I don't use the PlayStation anymore. But I play Call of Duty.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I love that game. I stay silent. I don't talk, and I just love the team effort behind it.
Yeah.
And I also play Uno. Believe it or not, like Uno that's what I play every morning, right? Like
oh wow.
I'm playing against the computer. I'm not playing with people. So it allows me to zone out, right? And just use the controller with one hand because I know exactly what. But yeah, I mean, like, believe it or not, Uno is on Xbox.
I would not have guessed that. I don't know if you saw it, but Uno was actually looking for like the company was looking for a chief Uno player recently. And I know they're paying a lot of money for.
I know. And you know what? I keep forgetting to look that up. My brother sent that to me. And I said, you're joking because my brother loves to joke. And he said, no, I'm dead serious. Please do this. And I haven't looked it up yet, but I am. I am going to check that out, see if they hired anyone because I think that'd be great.
Sounds like it. It sounds like that's a perfect opportunity. So I do want to go back to fear a little bit because one of the things that I've been reading a lot are exercises people can do to feel more comfortable working through fear or being in situations that they're scared of. So, there are a lot of influencers that talk about doing like one thing you're scared of doing every day and just exercising the ability to understand that it's not as bad as you think. And the worst thing that can happen is not as bad as you think it can. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree, except not every day. I think I'd lose my mind if I did something that I'm afraid of every day. But I do something that I wouldn't say I'm afraid. or have a fear of, but it's outside of my comfort zone. I try to do something new once a week. For instance, I am terrified of worms
Oh.
and caterpillars. However, I just got into gardening. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, how can I go outside and dig and be terrified of worms? So my husband and I, we would go out and just like slowly and gradually deal with the dirt. And I've accepted that I'm going to have to deal with worms. And I don't scream anymore, which is embarrassing, right? I don't scream anymore. I might cringe a little, but now I can actually hold a worm in my hand without freaking out,
Oh, wow. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another that I did, and this is again embarrassing, is I had a fear of something as simple as exercising.
Mhm.
I had a fear of exercising because I didn't know how, was too embarrassed to ask.
Mhm.
You know, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I worked my way through that by just taking walks and walking faster and faster and getting my heart rate up, and then going on YouTube and looking at other people work out. And, so now I don't have a fear. I don't like it. I don't like it,
Yeah.
but I'm not afraid to exercise anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with that approach. For me, I just wouldn't be able to tackle something that I'm afraid of every day. My mental
Yeah.
health would go crazy.
Yeah, I think about that too. And I think about, first of all, how do you find the time to do something you're afraid of every day for a period of time? And how do you come up with you have to really plan for that and really put yourself in those situations. I know way back when Tim Ferriss said one of the things that he did, or some, maybe it was somebody, a guest, was go into a Starbucks and just lay down on the floor and like, what? I don't know. I guess it just gets you past the fear of what other people think about you, and or even going up and asking for a discount. Like, can I have 15% off? And what's the
Wow.
worst that can happen? So, I guess they can be little things, but it does require, every day is a little excessive.
And you know what? And I'm so glad you said that, because when I embrace my fear, that is a question that I ask myself: what's the worst that could happen?
Hmm.
What is the bad thing that'll happen to me if I do this? If I
Hmm.
step out of the comfort zone? And, you know, really it's like so inconsequential. That's how you step out of your comfort zone. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, nothing too bad is going to happen. A ghost isn't going to jump out and strangle me to death if I sit in front of this camera and do a podcast that I've been terrified of for the past 2 months. Just thought I'd throw that in there. I was
Yeah.
terrified. I was absolutely terrified to do this.
Oh, I'm
I guess,
sorry.
no, it's okay, because I'm stepping out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
and I said, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I thought of what's the best that could happen. I could help
Mhm.
someone,
Yeah.
by telling them that I'm doing this. I'm
Mm.
literally doing this. And if I can sit here and speak with you and have a great conversation, then you can tackle your fear too.
Hmm. Oh, I love that, turning it around. What's the best that can happen?
Mhm.
That's a good way to position it. And with your fear of worms and the gardening, how did you ease yourself into that? Was it just going out and starting to dig, or how did you work past that?
Doing research on worms, just
Okay.
like reading about worms and what they do, how they help the
Mm-hmm.
environment, how they help your vegetation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then looking at videos of people gardening and like having worm bags, and what these worm bags do for their tomatoes, their cucumbers, and that sort of thing. And then, just like gradually going outside and not just dealing with a planter, because that's how I started. I would buy a plant. I bought a planter. That
Yeah.
way I didn't have to touch the ground, you know, you
Yeah.
know, but we bought some worms, and I would watch my husband throw them in or what have you. And I would just look at them. I wouldn't freak out, but, my heart would be racing. I'd start sweating. But then slowly my heart wouldn't race anymore and I wouldn't sweat. And then finally I could hold one, you know, So it was a lot of research and figuring out, okay, you know what? They're not that bad. They're actually here for something, so that helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like really understanding more about what you're scared of to know that it's really not something to be scared of. I think for me, I'm scared of like horror movies, and I'm not sure I can get past that
Oh,
sort of fear.
yeah. That's, you know what? Again, you bring up such great points. That is how I tackle my fear or stress or fear of change. I love horror movies. I love anything dealing with horror, like
uh,
podcasts, books, movies, television, anything. Yeah. That helps me
hmm.
embrace fear too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that one. That might just stay a fear for me.
Yeah.
But I think, I'd rather go to Starbucks and lay on the floor. And
Then watch a scary movie. I get it. I
yeah,
totally get it. I totally get it.
exactly.
There was a time I would rather lay on the floor in Starbucks than pick up a worm.
Yeah.
So totally get it. Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about with change management or embracing fear before we move on to some of the more standard questions I like to ask?
Nothing that I've said already. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's okay to be afraid. Like,
yeah,
we need to accept that first and foremost. What's
yeah,
not okay is not embracing it.
yeah, yeah. Great, great words. Well, and I know we talked about this a little bit already. You talked about some of your routines, but is there a specific morning or evening routine that really helps you stay grounded in your day and really get you through the day that you have to do or you just feel off?
I have to read every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have to read something before I go to bed. If I don't, I don't feel complete.
Oh.
So what I do and what I noticed was affecting my sleep, unfortunately, is, I would read on my phone
Mm.
or I would read on my iPad or my laptop. And it's like, okay, this is why you can't sleep. You need to switch back to books. So I switch back to paper books and a little book light.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But doing that every night, first, it helps me sleep, but I just feel grounded because I'm in front of my computer every day. If I'm not in front of my computer, I'm in front of my television every day playing video games or watching a scary movie, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pointing over here. I have like so many books. Like, I love to read. So reading every day.
What's your preference? What kind of book do you like to read?
Um, Horror.
Oh, horror.
Yeah,
Okay.
scary books. Right now, I'm reading this book that is it's like this thick, one horror book,
Oh,
and
wow.
it is magnificent and so challenging. It is a very challenging book to read. You have footnotes, you're reading in a first person, third person, you're just all over the place, and it is so weirdly fantastic. It's so hard to read that I probably read maybe about 3 to 6 pages a night.
Yeah. Then you just feel
Yes.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I'd be up all night trying to figure out the mystery as to why.
Yes.
One, what are you trying to do in this book? And two, why am I reading this? So,
So reading horror doesn't keep you up or doesn't you don't have bad dreams or doesn't,
no,
yeah. Oh,
no.
interesting.
I'd have bad dreams watching a romantic comedy. But no, like scary movies or horror movies. No, it relaxes me.
Wow.
That's, that's my change management. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so interesting going back to what we started out like everybody's different and
Yes.
understanding that and knowing how to communicate with people and understanding that I can't watch horror movies and you go to sleep reading about horror and it's fine.
Yes. Absolutely. It is fine. It's weird, but it's fine.
Yeah. Is there a song that is your go-to song when you need a little confidence boost or energy boost during the day?
Yes. Wu-Tang Clan,
Oh,
Bring the Ruckus.
okay.
I love that song because it is so braggadocious on their skill set. Like, I am amazing. I am the best. You can't touch me. I'm the best thing. And I listen to that at least not every day, but maybe about 3 to 4 times a week. It gives me a boost. It makes me
Yeah.
feel like, it makes me accept that I am awesome
Hmm.
and that I am the best at this very moment, so.
All right, that song's going on my playlist for sure. So now I personally, out of this, I'm waking up telling myself I'm awesome and I'm adding that to my playlist. So that's,
Okay.
people are not going to know what to do with me.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Yeah, put that on your playlist. Be prepared and listen to it with an open mind. I think you'll get some good vibes.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we like to do is share things that we bought that we find helpful, just because our audience might find something that improves their lives in some way from listening. So, is there something under $100 or around $100 that you've bought recently that has made a difference in your life?
Yes, I bought a beauty blender.
Oh,
It's a sponge to apply makeup.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't wear makeup as much as I'd want to because I don't care sometimes. But I do want to present myself like today, and wear something on my face. And the beauty blender, it's just a little sponge shaped like a teardrop,
Mhm.
right? And you wet it, and you squeeze out the excess water, and you can apply your tinted moisturizer or your foundation by just blotting, and it just comes on so flawlessly. It makes you want to wear makeup, to me at
Mhm.
least. It doesn't do anything for my tan. I mean, like, having this two-tone effect right here. But yeah, I mean, like it's done a lot. I feel so accomplished in putting on this makeup with a sponge. It's weird.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
who would have thought wet a sponge and squeeze it out and apply makeup? But it works. It's great.
And it does make a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Interesting.
Yes.
I listened to the podcast, How I Built This, and he interviewed the founder of Beauty Blender.
Okay.
And after listening to that, I was like, oh, I have to get one. And I haven't brought myself to do that yet. And to me, I just don't like in my brain, I'm like, oh, it can't be that much of a difference. But oh, I might have to check it out then.
It absolutely is. Of course, I didn't follow directions,
No.
and I didn't wet it, and I put it on, and it was like big deal. But then when I read the directions, like, oh, it's supposed to be wet, and then it gets huge. It's like small, and it grows with the water, and it's just like it's weird how life changing it is. Like
Oh,
it's so different.
interesting.
I know, like
Wow.
yeah, it's good. Highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And so on the subject of podcasts and books, is there a nonfiction book that you've read that you would recommend to the audience as being helpful? It could be change management or not change management, and or a podcast that you listen to that is you find really helpful.
So okay, nonfiction for me, again, my hobby is cookbooks. I've
Mm.
read
Mm.
autobiographies and, all of that
Yeah.
stuff, and I still do. But what really helps me is, digging into a passion that I love, right? So
Hmm.
reading a cookbook is soothing for me.
Mm.
It helps me look at, different ways to do things. I don't just liken it to food. I look at it as, making a change. Like it's just different for me. Again, podcasts. I listen to the Magnus Archives, which is not it's fiction,
Hmm.
but it's very soothing for me.
Hmm. Is there a favorite chef or cookbook that you like that might be a good starter for people listening?
Well, I love Anthony Bourdain. Uh,
Mm.
anything that he has written, and especially like his autobiography, his biography, I would highly recommend that. I don't have a particular favorite chef. I respect all of them. I respect their different techniques.
Yeah. It sounds like you like to change things up and have variety. So that makes sense
Yeah,
that you would be open to, as long as they have a good recipe. But
as long as it's a good recipe or a
yeah.
good technique, I'm open to it. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I read this book and I don't know if you heard of it. Let me see. It's Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by,
Yes.
that was like, that taught me so much. I thought I knew. It was more like a technical
Mhm.
aspect of cooking, and it taught me so much reading that.
Yeah. Yeah, like who would have thought like a hit of lemon juice,
Yeah,
which just changed the whole aspect of your dish.
yeah,
A little bit of vinegar. Like it's just weird, like the
hmm,
science behind cooking,
yeah,
and your taste buds and the chemistry, your brain
yeah.
chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. And there's another book, and it's like a bigger book, The Science of Cooking or something like that. And
Mhm.
I have it on my want list, but I haven't checked it out yet. So maybe that'll be something at some point. Well, I know we're getting up to the time, and I really do appreciate your time. I'm so happy you joined us here on Her Hype Squad. So you are officially now a member of our audience's Hype Squad. And do you have any parting words of wisdom, advice, inspiration that you'd like to leave everybody with before we end?
Yes. Wake up every day knowing that you are someone, that you are important to the world, right? You are a gift, and you need to give that gift every day,
Mhm.
right? Like that, I would absolutely leave it at that. You are
Mhm.
important, and we need you.
Love it. Thank you. Great words to end by. And so, just to wrap things up, if our listeners would like to reach out to you or find you, where is the best place to find you?
You can email me at embracechange@thechangility.com. You can go to my website, thechangility.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn.
Right.
I'm on LinkedIn. So there are multiple ways you can find me. Yep,
And Changility is Changility.
exactly.
Okay. No
Yes,
E.
no
Yeah.
E. And
Okay.
it's the Changility, all one word,
Okay.
or embrace change at
Okay.
thechangility.com. Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate you coming on, and it's been a great conversation. Two topics that I personally really enjoy talking about. Wish we could have got more into it, but I appreciate all of your words of advice and hope that people got some great things from the conversation. So,
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. This was fun.
well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. You too.
Right, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Michelle again. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly episodes. And if you're really feeling it, please leave a review. We'd love to have your support. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter where we share things we're excited about, things we found funny or inspiring, and must-read leadership videos and articles we came across that week. You can subscribe by going to www.thebosstrack.com/weekly joy. That's www.thebosstrack.com/weekly joy. Drop in your email and you'll get the very next one. Thanks for listening.